How you doing today, folks? And welcome to Red Wolf EDC. Now today, got a badass knife for you. Now this is a knife, right, that in some way, shape, or form I've owned in its actual inception. And I actually have sold it far more than once, right? For some reasons, I'll get into it. But I do think that this version, in particular with this brass scale, but also, the titanium versions, the copper versions, ones that are still available, are still absolutely fantastic. But I do think this, for me personally, is the absolute Goldilocks. Now, this was actually gifted to me by Hillary at TRM. Fail. Fail. God damn it. Oh my god. I stuck and do the reverse flick. Whatever, we're just going to do that. So this is actually gifted to me by Hillary over there at TRM. And I want to take a moment to shout out TRM's customer service, right? Because in this whole little knife game thing that we have going, TRM is one of the best, if not the absolute best, as far as customer service, man. They are extraordinarily humble. They are extraordinarily generous. And they're also just really fucking cool to talk to. Like, I've had full-on conversations with them, and, like, it was just awesome. They're very, very knowledgeable. They're always willing to teach you something. Like, they're amazing. They have the Midakun, I'm probably saying that wrong, group on Facebook. They have their actual TRM, Three Rivers Manufacturing, cannot talk, on Instagram, as well as the actual website. But basically speaking, the regular Atom is a full-size EDC knife because it is a larger size knife. I have size 2XL hands. It fits my size 2XL hands as long as I am like kind of on here like this. You're supposed to have your fingers in this groove right here. If I do that, it's not comfortable. But if I go up onto the actual piece, I have a little bit taken off the actual edge. So it is a full-size knife, right? But it's a full-size knife that is very, very thin in pocket with the original scales. With these, it is still thin. See, it's a pretty small footprint overall, but it is a little bit thicker. But in the original, like, stock scales, it's like super, super minuscule. It's not like a Benchmade Narrows or whatever like that, because this is definitely an older design. But it is very, very thin. It's very, very light. It's very, very, very EDC friendly. And it's also a freaking laser beam. That's one thing I have never had a complaint about in regards to TRM, is that their knives are always just extraordinarily sharp. And I really can't help but love that because, it's a knife. Its primary purpose is to cut. And it does that very, very well. Now, in regards to why I sold so many of these knives is because they are very, very thin. I have size 2XL hands, and for me, they just weren't super comfortable. They were 100% functional tools, but if you actually wanted to really hard use them, they just kind of sucked. To be fair, most people do not feel that way. Most people love the ergonomics. So again, if you have size 2XL hands, if you have these big ass fucking oven mitts for hands, then it might be a problem for you. If you're an XL, if you're a large, medium, small, whatever, I don't see it being a problem for you at all. For me personally, it was. That being said, their new run of titanium, as well as copper, and then brass, if you can find them, they don't make very many brass runs, unfortunately, really changes that. It adds a little bit of heft, it adds a little bit of thickness, and it makes it feel noticeably, right? Like really, really noticeably more substantial, which is both a pro and a con based on who you are. Me personally, I really enjoy a heavier knife. I like having that nice in-hand hefty feel to it. So it's very much a pro to me. If you want the lightest knife possible, you got G10, micarta, stuff like that, or titanium, which is also still very, very light. But for me, in brass, this is just awesome. So if my camera will focus, it has this amazing freaking texture, right? Like, it's absolutely beautiful. And it just really locks your hand in. So it's not only aesthetically beautiful, it's really functional, and it's also no hot spots. Every single one of these little itty bitty pieces are chamfered out. See, if you look at that, it doesn't really come off the scale. So everything is milled out in such a way to where it's like you can hear the texture, but you can't almost not feel it in hand, which is kind of crazy because it's there, like it really locks your hand in, but you can't really feel it. Now, if you run your fingers up and down the scale, you absolutely can, right? But if you're just holding it like this, it doesn't really feel very much different from just a regular atom, which is honestly kind of extraordinary and really, really impressive. So you get something that looks amazing, has an added form factor, an added function to it, and also does not compromise the ergonomics whatsoever. It's a little thicker in this configuration, a little bit heavier, but it's still something that honestly for me is perfect. Like, I love this knife, and I finally have my atom that I'm just never going to sell. Now, to be fair, I've had this one in this gorgeous DLC blade for a long time. But I have thought about selling it, and those thoughts are now completely freaking gone, because this has very quickly and immediately turned into an absolute Goldilocks. Apparently I have a mustache now. An absolute Goldilocks knife that I can't honestly put down. I keep wanting to carry this. I have a little over 170 something knives right now, right? But I've owned thousands over the years, but I have about 170 right now. And I carry different things all the time, or at least I try to. Since I've gotten this knife, I almost always carry this. And it's kind of a problem because I can't really review other knives and produce content if I'm just constantly carrying this because I can't test anything else besides this. So it's sort of stagnated the channel a little bit, which is cool for me. I don't really care too much about like making the channel grow or whatever. This is always about just kind of having fun. But like, if you're a YouTuber or you're trying to make content and you get this, it might just kill your channel. It's like, you're not going to want to carry anything else. Like, this knife kind of honestly broke me because, God, I used to always say that the perfect knife does not exist. There's always, knives that are good for fundamental uses, and each fundamental use is different. But for me, this is EDC, right? Perfect, boxes checked, happy. Hard use, perfect, boxes checked, happy. Pretty? You just want a pretty knife to like go in the freaking pocket, feel like a baller for a day. This is pretty goddamn sexy. So that box is checked as well. I can't think of a role, honestly, where this knife does not in some way, shape, or form fit either perfectly or goddamn near. And that's honestly extraordinary. Now, I have knives that I think I like more than this is for just one in particular reason, right? But this is a jack of all trades. But it's not a master of none. It's a master of quite a few different things, which is just, again, kind of insane, because I did not think a knife like this actually existed until I got the TRM Atom in particular, until I got these brass scales, which just transformed the entire thing for me. Like, I'm not hyping this knife up, right? This is not like some paid sponsorship or whatever the case may be. I just am over fucking joyed with this. And I almost am speechless, right? Because I have a million different things to say that I'm trying to think of how to word them. And it doesn't quite come out right because they don't do this knife justice for the level of joy that it actually brings me. And that's crazy. Like, because if you guys know me, I talk way the hell too much. So the fact that I don't know what to say, that's impressive. That's very, very impressive. Now, as far as an overall review score, right, of the TRM Knives Atom, EDC-wise, all day long, in its regular configuration, it's a 10. I just have to be honest with you guys. It's an incredible knife. But as far as a hard use knife, I give it like a 6. As far as how much do I like it, I'd give it probably a 7 or an 8. But in this configuration, and I'm sure the tie is very similar and the brass is pretty much, the copper is pretty much identical, it's a 10 in all categories. I have hard used this knife in a really, honestly, kind of stupid fashion, and it still just performs perfectly. There's no blade play. There's no rock. There's nothing wrong with it. Is it the most drop shutting knife in the world? No, but it's not designed to be. Does it have good action coming out? Absolutely. Now, as far as some size comparisons, right, there are bigger knives out there. You know, here is a Marauder H. You know, as far as the size, the thickness or whatever, like, it's really no comparison. Let me also bust out another brass knife I have. This is the Schreider PT Plus. Fail. Again, still a very, very thin knife compared to this. And the blade stock is quite different as well. Let me bust out one of my absolute favorite knives is the Microtech MSI. Review on this coming up very, very soon. Compared to the MSI, also very, very thin. So even though it is like thicker, it's not a tremendous amount thicker. What it is it has just enough thickness for the actual scales to be able to contour it so you don't have the hot spots of the original scales. And that, for me personally, makes all the difference. The added weight makes more of a difference. It does not impact the action or anything like that because of the hat trick of the TRM knives in general, is that you don't have to remove the pivot. So if you have your pivot Loctited or whatever the case may be, if you have to that perfect sweet spot and you don't want to take it apart, you don't have to. You take off the clip, you take off these two pieces or whatever, and then you're good to go. That's it. It's super easy. It's super streamlined. The scales jump around the pivot. No issue. And again, it's just simplicity made perfect. And that is something that I have the utmost respect for. So, TRM Knives, Hillary at TRM Knives, and the whole TRM team, these scales, I gotta be honest, man, I have no complaints. And I always want to give some type of critique and some type of feedback or whatever, because I think that's what like these channels are good for, is if you give someone honest critique and honest feedback, it's a platform for that. But I just don't have any. I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. So, you know, golf clap, kudos to you, because it's an absolute incredible knife with absolutely incredible scales that make the overall platform, you guessed it, incredible. 10 out of 10. Now, as always, folks, I love you all. Please take care, and bye-bye.